Okay, good evening, everyone. Just give me a couple of minutes. I will be starting the webinar shortly, just giving it a few more minutes for people to join. In the meantime, thank you for joining me on this Saturday about a webinar about navigating the application process. Before we begin, just a couple of things that I would like to show as polls. So first of all, am I audible? I'm just starting this poll, which you should be seeing on your screens at the moment. So if you can hear me loud and clear, just, select, am I audible? Yes on that, so that I can get that out of the way. Perfect. Um, Next question, of course, a very simple one, of course, is can you see my screen? Because you should be seeing the title screen at the moment, showing the title of navigating the application process. And if you can see that, just please mark yes on that. No, we will be able to move ahead with that as well. Great. So you can see my screen as well. And I'm assuming that you guys can see me and hear me and see my screen. So just a couple of rules that we would like to mention before we begin. We'll not be having the chat option. Unfortunately, Zoho webinar does not have the chat option in the session, but you can ask your question and answers. We will be addressing them towards the very end of the presentation where we have got a Q&A option for people to ask their questions and everything. So you can definitely connect with us afterwards, after the webinar as well. So don't worry about that. Your questions, we try to answer as much as we can during the session. But of course, you can also reach out to us at the very end after the session as well, whether that is in the coming week or any other time. My colleague is here in the chat as well with me, Jude. He will be posting a couple of links that might be useful to you guys, including a contact form and some other useful information. Additionally, just as a disclosure, I have been having internet and power cut issues throughout the day. So in case I do get dropped out, I am hoping you will just, take over for like a few minutes while the generator kicks in, and I'll be able to resume the presentation. I decided to do this from home for a change, but I am now regretting it due to the way the internet and the power has been behaving for the last hour or so. But fingers crossed, it does not create any problems for the next hour or so, in which case we'll be able to have a smooth presentation. The presentation will be available on YouTube as well in just about a day or two. So after that, we will be, you can view it by maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll be sending out the link to everyone, whether they attended or they did not attend. So yeah, I think with that, we are mostly ready to go. And, again, thank you for your patience. So it's just about 4:04. A good time to begin. And welcome to another webinar presented by Longshore Education. The title is Navigating the Application Process. As I mentioned, you will be able to answer your questions. You will be able to ask your questions, but at the very end of the webinar, the chat has been disabled because unfortunately that option is not there in the whole webinar. And yeah, I think I will just begin with the actual agenda of today. So the last webinar that we did was on 27th of, or it was on 29th of July, on 29th of June, on navigating the application process, slightly before the application process actually, where we talked about how to select your country and which course that you should be applying for. So this is kind of like the pre-application process. That is what we talked about during that particular webinar. Um, Today, we'll be talking a little bit about the application process itself, whether it is the profile building parts, the essays, the documents needed, financial planning, and how to actually go about with the application process. I'm not focusing on any country specifically, and neither am I focusing on any level of study specifically. But, during the webinar itself, we'll be having a couple of polls just to see what you guys are more interested in. Once we know that, we'll be able to figure out, I'll be trying to focus my presentation a little bit more based on the things that you tell me. So we really want students who attend this to have learned at least one thing they did not know from before. And honestly speaking, empowering students with the right information to make the best decisions for themselves is really at the heart of what we're trying to do. We're hoping that you find it an informative session, and wherever you are in the application journey, it actually helps you get a little bit better. So the first thing that we'll talk about is an outcome-oriented approach. I honestly believe that an outcome-oriented approach is very important. whether you are trying to apply for any job or any university, a master's program, PhD program, bachelor's program, outcome-oriented approach is very necessary. If you know where you want to go, then you can decide how you want to get there. Um, the profile building aspects, we'll actually talk a little bit about profile analysis as well as how you can improve it. Regarding concrete steps to improve your profile, it's going to be outside the scope of this webinar, but I will give you a few examples of students that I have worked with in the past and how their journeys ended up being. The actual application process, a few tips, of course, including the essays part as well. We have the next webinar, which we have is going to be on 24th of August. That is going to be on the essays by itself. It's going to be completely on how to write, the application tips, brainstorming, and so on and so forth. So that will not be a free webinar. That will be for a paid attendees only. And we'll be sending you out, if you are in our webinar list and on our mailing list, then we'll be sending you out the mailers for that in maybe, 10 days or so. The financial planning aspects, of course, are very important. We'll be talking about that and how applying early can really give you the best chance of applying for scholarships. Plus, discuss a little bit about how much money do you need for various countries that we're looking at. When we apply for any kind of program, the question that should come into the picture is what makes you unique. And that is going to be something that will help you apply for any university, any program, any particular master's, bachelor's, job even that you want. Because how to highlight those positive things that set you apart from the rest of the application or the application peers is really at the heart of the process. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Just to give you a little bit of an introduction about Longshore Education, we are a Delhi-based education consulting company. We help students from all over India study at universities abroad. And we have partnerships with over 750 universities at this point. We apply to a wide category of institutions. And our philosophy is that of a best fit or a student-centric approach. We try to make sure that you are at the front and center of the process, making sure that while you apply, the application, the counselors and the students are always aligned with the mission of making sure that the students get to the best fit that actually helps them succeed in their career. If you have attended my webinar before, then you know who I am. If you haven't, then this is a very short introduction. My name is Yash. I have studied at the University of Texas at Dallas. What seems to be a lifetime ago. I have been helping students for over 10 years at this point. And last year, I founded Longshore to help students get some really good information, separate myths from facts, and provide them with trusted guidance. In the past, I've actually hosted offline fairs, online fairs, visa sessions with the US Embassy officials as well. And over the period of 10 years, I would have helped easily more than 1,000 students in their careers, whether that is bachelor's, master's, MBA, PhD, and so on. In the past, my students have been admitted to top universities such as Carnegie Mellon, University of Southern California, UC Berkeley, Columbia University, Northwestern, AGC Paris, and many more. So that is a little bit brief about my background. I actually like working on very specific applications, specific parts of the application process as well. I think my favorite part would be working with essays and SOPs and working with students to try to help them really figure out what it is that helps them stand out in their application profile. So moving on, when I said that I would like to focus on an outcomes-oriented approach, what did I mean? So what I mean is that you have to consider your post-degree goals. Don't just follow your crowd. Try to define your goals for studying abroad clearly and work backwards from that, from what you want to do in the future. In our previous webinar conducted on 29th of June, as I said, you can view it on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. We talked about the process of selecting the countries and the courses. And, we can even give you a link in the chat as well. But essentially, if you search for Longshore Education on YouTube, you'll be able to find it. So the whole idea is that first you have to find what it is that you want to pursue in the future and what degree will help you get there. Accordingly, you will have to start doing your research about the paths that you could take to get to that particular outcome. And obviously, you have to start early. A lot of the time, students seem to have this kind of approach of just going with the crowd, trying to figure out this is the trendy courses, these are the things that are completely trending in the market right now. But instead of that, have some independent ideas about what you would like to do the future and how any particular program can help you get there. So now, if you want to implement an outcome focused approach while you are planning your study abroad journey, how would you do that? Let me just give you a few things to consider. So, for a high school student, trying to find an exact outcome might be a bit difficult. So, that is absolutely fine. If you are planning to apply for something like a bachelor's degree, then it might be difficult for you to say, what you want to do 10 years down the line, what is the exact job profile you're looking for, what kind of courses you want to pursue, and so on. But you can think about your passion and gain exposure to whatever fields you may have an interest in. So, if let us say you are interested in graphic design, then you can do some kind of course that you are particularly interested in and actually helps you turn into look at the nitty gritties of the process, not just the theory about graphic design, but also about how you would actually implement that and what does a graphic designer do. Gain some exposure into various careers, various options, and look at the day-to-day experiences of people who are pursuing those careers. Masters and above students, they have a little bit more life experience and they can actually think about this a little bit further. You can also follow a process of elimination. If you're willing to put in the work, you can figure out that these are the things that I don't want to do, and that actually limits your options and makes it much easier for you to figure out what could be possible options for you to pursue. Based on your experiences so far, you can try to think about how your skill set has been developed in certain areas and would you like to develop that more, whether that is mathematics, whether that is physics, whether that is science, whether that is financial analytics, anything that you might have. The favorable outcomes will come to you and favorable outcomes can be visualized, but you do have to put in the effort to go about it. If let us say you've already got some work experience, then you need to think about what skills need to be upgraded to take the next step in your career. And you have to think about your financial capabilities. It's a very real thing that everyone will not have the same financial capabilities and everyone will be able to afford certain different kind of courses and certain different kind of expenses when it comes to cost of living as well. So think about your financial capabilities. There are loans available, there are scholarships available, but even then, studying abroad can be something which is an expensive idea for many people. So think about what your financial capabilities are and take all available resources into account. By that, I mean that a lot of times students don't consider some of the resources that they have at their disposal. If you are working at any company, then look at your colleagues, look at your seniors, look at your mentors. Have any of them studied abroad? Ask them about their experiences. If you have got any family members, cousins, friends, consider them seniors who may have gone before. Ask them about what their experiences was, and then try to see how that will actually influence you. Don't get completely influenced by it, but definitely take it into account as a part of the experience. Whether it is something that you are completely considering as an important factor or something you consider as a less important factor, you need to figure out how important it is for you to get to the outcome that you are visualizing. So it is a long journey. So the good idea to think about think about the application journey is to visualize it as a path. During this path, you can actually learn things about yourself that can make you even switch tracks. The earlier you figure out what it is that you want to do and where it is that you want to go, the better placed you are at gaining the skills that will actually help you achieve that outcome. But that doesn't mean that if you figure it out later, there are no options for you. There are always options to figure it out. So if you have got some idea about what outcome you are looking at, let us say that you have got that idea of I want to pursue, as my previous example says, graphic design. What should you do at this point? You should now start considering what makes you a good or a bad applicant. So your application is actually a reflection of you. And understanding your profile is the first step. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your aspirations? If you have identified those, you need to then align them with your chosen program. Research the program thoroughly, understand its curriculum, understand its faculty, try to figure out if you can connect with any alumni from that program or any students who are currently studying there. This alignment is the cornerstone of your application. Without this alignment, the actual problems begin because students who have got a good profile, who have got some kind of achievements, who have got good academic background, may not always end up reaching the place that they want to go simply because the program is completely misaligned. It's not about getting into the top programs, but finding the right fit for your academic journey. And effort without direction can actually be quite counterproductive. And it is crucial to choose the right path before investing time, effort, and energy. Because if, let us say, you have visualized an outcome and considered your profile, aligned it with the program, and begun the application process, but at any point of time, you misidentified your program or figured out that, or somehow because of, misguidance or something or the other, you ended up going down the wrong path, your effort can be completely in vain. So let me give you an example of this. This is actually a student that I worked with in the past. Her name is Jyothi, and she studied electronics and communication from Lovely Professional University. She studied electronics and communication because she has an interest in satellite communications at that point of time and telecommunications. But somewhere around third year or fourth year, she decided that she actually was far more interested in her courses which were related to branding and advertising rather than actually interested in the satellite communications and the engineering aspects. So she worked in brand management and HR for 4+ years. After that, she decided that she wanted to get into product management. She decided to apply for a master's in engineering management. Unfortunately, applied in round three because of she was actually underprepared at that point of time and got denied at all her applications. Now, the misalignment there was that while engineering management is a great course, it is actually a course for engineers who want to become managers. They want to lead engineering teams and do engineering projects. Just because she had done engineering at the undergrad level or the bachelor's level does not mean that she was well suited for that program. And so she actually got denials in all of her applications. After that, she ended up coming to me, and I actually talked to her and tried to figure out what she wanted to do in the future. Product management being an example, we actually decided that MBA would be something that would be far more suitable because she had 4 years of work experience and had taken the GRE at that point of time. And now she's currently studying in Rochester Institute of Technology with a 40% scholarship and currently interning as a product management intern at GE Vernova. So this is someone who actually who realigned their career twice in just a period of 5 to 6 years. Initially, she began with electronics and communication, which is a very core engineering field. After that, worked in HR, which is a completely business and management oriented field. Although she was working in OnePlus and a software consultancy company, so she was hiring engineers. So her engineering background did help with that. She wanted to then get into product management and went completely into an MBA to achieve that goal. So that is exactly an example of how earlier she had put in the effort, gotten the GRE score, but somehow because of the misalignment, she was not able to get the outcome that she wanted. So I'm just going to create another poll, which is that I wanted to know, because before we talk about the timeline and application process, which intake are you guys targeting? So the options should be up on your screen at this point, which is January 2025, August, September 2025, or later. About 20% of the people have answered so far. So I'm just going to wait for at least, 40% answer at this point. Okay, so not much for later. We've got some mostly for the ones that have answered, mostly for August and September of 2024. Right. So we've got just about a year before the application process actually begins for you guys. And I'm just going to talk about the application timeline in the next couple of slides. But the main thing to understand is, of course, that how you spend the rest of the 12 months or so that are available to you. Profile analysis. It is very important to look carefully in the mirror and try to understand your strengths and weaknesses. Understanding your strengths and weaknesses is the first step towards building a successful application. It's like a piece of a puzzle. Each piece, whether it is an academic achievement, whether it is an extracurricular involvement, whether it is some kind of personal characteristic, some kind of learning experience, some kind of work project, all of these form a bigger picture. But Unlike a puzzle where all of the sizes are all of the pieces are the same size, the puzzle, some of them have to be bigger, some of the pieces have to be smaller. How are you going to make sure that your application outshines the rest? Take some time to reflect on your experiences. What are you naturally good at? What are you passionate about? These insights will actually help you in highlighting your profile, crafting a narrative or a compelling application story. There is unfortunately there is no strength for there's no substitute for academic excellence. If you have got a GPA which is on the lower side, you are at a disadvantage. However, if you have done something in your past that you feel very proud of, if it is relevant to your future, try to highlight that. If you try to focus on the future, you can make a profile building plan. Now, unfortunately, everyone here is actually applying for the intake, which is 1 year from now. Honestly speaking, profile building at this stage is very difficult. The questions that I have put over here are, do you still have time? And is it worth the effort? At this point of time, the only thing that you can take, because you cannot change your GPA, you cannot change your work experience really, you cannot really change your uh, extracurricular activities or whatever else you have done in your profile so far. All you can do is increase your standardized testing scores. So if you have got a program that really focuses on GRE and GMAT, you can improve that. If you're going for a program that is an artistic related program, like a design program or an art program or an animation program, you can actually improve your portfolio because that can be accomplished in a period of 2 to 3 months. While the rest of the things that actually go into a profile would honestly already be ready. So the earlier you start, the more activities that you can do while building your profile. Now, when to begin? The best time is now. Okay, actually, the second best time is now. The best time would have been about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. But the second best time is now because if you have understood your desired outcome, you can start a year in advance or even earlier if possible, and identify your course of country. And you don't have to limit yourself to one country. You can apply to multiple countries. If you again, as I said before, there is another webinar that we did on this particular topic about identifying your course and country. So you can you can definitely look at that particular webinar as well on our YouTube channel. After you have figured these things out, try to analyze your profile and look at the overall eligibility requirements. There will be standardized testing required for the most part. The English proficiency is something which is quite important. If you are an undergrad student planning to apply for US universities, then SAT or ACT is the exam that you should be considering. Even though optional admissions are available, they are quite important. These test scores are quite important when it comes to scholarship. Same thing for grad students as well. Even though optional programs are available, GRE GMAT scores are quite important when it comes to helping you stand out amongst the profile, amongst your application peers, as well as making sure that you have some kind of eligibility for scholarship. You just start gathering your academic documents, obviously, try to figure out, your transcripts. A lot of times government universities have got a very long process to get their official transcripts. They have not collected their official degrees. They have not gotten their semester-wise mark sheets. They have got some kind of news that they have not cleared. So make sure that these things are absolutely done. Update your resume. Whatever you're doing currently, it should be at front and center. It should be a completely format. It should be a format that is completely focused on your US or Canadian or whichever abroad country you're applying to applications. If you have not got a passport, please get a passport. If you have got a passport that's about to expire, renew your passport. Consider the cost that will incur. We'll talk a little bit about this in our future slides. If you are currently working, do not quit your job. If you should be able to manage your application process with your job, because this can create a bit of a problem during the application process, during the application for the visa. And if you are studying, do not drop out of your course, even if you might be doing it for the engagement purpose. Like for example, let's say if you're doing a certificate program or if you're doing a diploma program and you don't think that it will actually help you in the future, do not drop out of it still, because it actually helps with the visa process, making sure that you don't have any kind of educational gap. So creating your university list. So if you have got your profile, if you have analyzed what program you want to apply for, if you have decided which particular course you are interested in, it now comes the chance to actually create your university list. Ideally, you should be doing this in just about a month or so. Because after you create the university list comes the other aspects of the application process, which is strategizing your timeline and also doing the application essays. A list of 7 to 10 universities is suitable for most students. There are some students who are ultra high achieving and who apply to universities where, applicants can get rejected even if they are highly achieving. In that case, perhaps a list of 15 to 20 universities might be better, but it is a diminishing margin of return. What I mean by that is that you cannot give the best application for each university. If you keep reusing the material for each university, they will also understand that it is not personalized and create and end up giving you a negative decision. So, of course, first you should research about various universities and their particular programs, categorize them. Now, this categorization can be something which you may need a bit of help with. You have to divide the universities into 3 overall categories. This is the standard procedure that we also follow and most students should follow. The dream reaches safe categories based on your academic credentials and overall profile. You have to be honest with yourself. After this, you create a timeline and decide the ones which you want to tackle first. Now, this categorization. The dream schools are the ones that your the top choice universities, where if you are admitted, you will actually go without even considering anything. The admission is usually highly competitive, and the kind of admissions process might also be slightly more complicated with interviews, with longer application timelines, multiple rounds, so on and so forth. Elite schools are those where you meet most of the admission criteria, but admission is not guaranteed. You can also call these moderate programs, or in fact, these are a lot of times where the best fit approach comes into the picture. So if you've got a program where you are quite interested in, but you feel fit with some of the criteria, try to consider that as a elite school. The safe schools are the ones where your academic profile is actually way above the average student's profile. Then you actually consider the timeline, the strategies for figuring out which universities you will apply to at what stage. Because the whole idea behind it is that you should not apply left, right, and center, or do not apply to 7 universities at the same time or 10 universities at the same time. Try to apply to some universities in round 1, try to apply to some universities in round 2. If you're applying for early decision, early action, these kind of things matter. If you're applying to different countries, then that also makes a difference because each country has a different application timeline. Australia, for example, has got the February as the main intake, January and February, and July, August as the off intake. So the deadlines are somewhere in July and August for the February intake, while US, on the other hand, has got January intake and an August, September intake. So the deadlines are somewhere closer to December if you actually look at the early deadlines. And some of them are even go all the way up to March or April. But leave enough time for your visa applications and leave enough time to move your applications up and down. If you are, when you actually apply, here are the things that some of the things that you should consider. You should have a realistic application timeline. As I said earlier, the journey to your dream university is not always about qualifications. It's also about smart planning. The idea is not just to talk about your, not just about getting to the qualifications. You have to be realistic, but don't rush or delay the applications. A well thought out strategy involves starting early, but also understanding that your first application may not be your strongest application. It's okay to learn and improve. So it's a good idea. You could start with the application which actually helps you build your confidence, because as soon as you click submit on that first application, you will think of 30 things that you could have put into the application. And so the first application can actually be your confidence builder, your safety. It can be something that you apply early to and get a scholarship also, and actually helps manage your stress levels throughout. Every application is actually a learning opportunity. The early birds catch the worm, and applying early gives you the chance of scholarship and assistantships and so on and so forth. And it also means that you should not let the pressure of these applications to consume you. Each application should be unique, tailored to the specific university. And even though it can be tempting, try to avoid using the same essay and just replacing the university names just for the sake of the applications. Try to research the university and in that, remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Pace yourself, strategize, and most importantly, you do believe in yourself. Don't apply to any university for the sake of applying, because if it's a university where you will not be actually happy to go to, don't apply to that university. Apply to the universities where you will feel completely that this is somewhere that I would like to attend, even if it is a university that is a safety choice. So, what do universities look for? Um, these are some of the things that I have actually put there, but this is actually a tier. In the case of academic success, it is the most important. Academic success is something that shows that you are, I mean, it is a it is a program that is oriented towards studies, right? So if you have successfully cleared your courses, if you have got a high GPA, if you are one of the top students in your class, the university has got an idea that this is a student who may be successful even in our curriculum. These are the things that actually go beyond the numbers. They express your motivation, they express your desire to do this particular course, and what makes you a good fit for it. Your test scores are the most standardized thing that the universities have to look at. If you've got some kind of GRE or GMAT score that is at the very top end of the percentile, it shows that your ability to take a test which is standardized across all over the world and makes it somewhere that proves to the university that this particular person has got that ability to clear those kind of reasoning and data-oriented questions. The references or the letters of recommendation, of course, they look at that as well. And those are the kind of things that tell the universities how the student is going to be seen by their peers or their seniors. Now, passion is something which is quite difficult to express, but this is also where the alignment comes in. If you are actually applying without alignment of your profile to any kind of courses, there will be problems and you will not be able to express why you should be studying that course and why you should be selected for that course. Your work experience, of course, matters because in the previous work, if you've got something that is relevant to the course that you're pursuing, that's excellent. And if you've got something which is not relevant, if you are completely cheating your field, then you have to show to the uh, applications committee that why this particular course and why this particular program will help you get to what stage you want to go to. Remember, the outcome is what you always want to focus on. If you want to go from a law program to a business program, or if you were somewhere a graphic designer who wants to go towards an MBA, try to figure out what it is that you did not have in your previous career that you really want to look for in your future career, and how this program will help you get there. At the very lowest, honestly, is the extracurriculars, because until and unless you're applying to the very, very top programs, which is the Oxford, the Imperial, the Cambridge, the Ivy League universities, the idea is that everyone at this particular section or applicant pool will have such high academic scores and achievements that their extracurriculars is what sets them apart. Honestly, if you are not meeting if you're not meeting the academic criteria, the test scores to get into this applicant pool, your extracurriculars will not help you as much. However, having a complete black extracurricular profile is also not great. If you have got something that you think will set you apart, definitely include it in the process. How they will contribute to the class is something which is a bit more focused on undergrads and MBAs, not as much towards the master's applicant. Master's applicants is all about the alignment with the course and how they can actually complete the course to the successful extent. And academic success is more important. But in an MBA and undergrad class, what they're trying to do is sometimes look at what does this person bring to the table? How will they contribute to the class of actually, whether it is group projects, whether it is, class participation, so on and so forth. When you are actually applying to a university, you are essentially trying to market yourself to the universities. What is your USP? What makes you unique? That is what you are trying to tell the universities. And for that, you got some kind of questions that, are a bit different for undergraduate and postgraduate students. For undergraduate students, you should try to think. So, what will you contribute to this university, as I said before? And why do you want to study abroad? Right? For postgraduate students, like experiences have you had? What work experiences have you had? And how have you shown that you would be successful in this program? What sort of career do you want? And how does this particular program help you get that career? These are the questions that should help you understand how you are unique. And answering these questions will help you actually get to the essays and the rest of the application process. As I was saying, it's important to understand that everyone will have a very different journey when it comes to the application process. You've got student A and student B. Both of them studied at triple IT. Both of them have got a GPA which is zero point 0.3 points just off each other. One of them has about 6.88 and the other one has 7.2. One of them has got three backlogs and the other two backlogs, and the other one has got no backlogs. But what makes them different from one another, right? One studied information technology from Triple IT Allahabad, and the other one studied computer science from Triple IT Bangalore. So that is something that is slightly different, but can seem something which is very comparable, right? One of them is interested only in US, and the other one is completely focused. He just wants the best university in any kind of big four country, which is US, UK, Canada, and Australia. One of them has got a work experience of 4+ years with a Wipro and an analytics startup, and the other one, but does want to stay in IT and continue that, while the other one wants to switch to a business-oriented program and doesn't want to stay in pure computing. So when you actually look at these particular students, you might be tempted to give them some similar kind of universities, but what actually ends up happening is that we work with the students individually and try to figure out what it is that they want to do. Because a profile for a student, even though the background might be the same, the outcome can be completely different. Student A would be far more suited to a program which is far more technologically oriented, whether it is information technology, data science, business analytics, supply chain management, engineering management, even if they want to, or information systems, cybersecurity, so on and so forth. While student B would not at all be suited for any tech-focused programs, but a program which is a blend of tech as well as which can take advantage of his tech background, while also have business components into it. So for that particular student, if they want to go into finance, if they want to go into data science, there is a good idea for them to consider something like data science or business analytics. But a program in computer science, information technology management would not be as suitable. The idea is that we should try to find out how these students have become more suitable for their particular outcomes that they're looking for, rather than trying to just compare both of them as completely the same and try to give them the same university list. So that is where the actual outcome-oriented approach comes in, and trying to figure out how you are unique, what sets you apart, and so your application path can be unique from everyone else. Of course, this is something which is a part of the application process, which actually lends a bit of stress to everyone, which is the essay writing. There are some tips that I wanted to include over here. There is not something where there is no easy answer to how to write a good essay, but there are some things, some considerations that you can take which will help you. The best essays are simple and straightforward to be effective. The reader should understand your narrative from the first line and try to customize it for each program. The questions that you want to answer are: why this particular course? What have you done in the past to show that you will succeed in this course? And what makes you suitable for it? Where you want to go in the future, how will this course be a pathway towards making you achieve that? As I said before, look at it not as the end goal, but a way to get to that particular end goal. Of course, do not plagiarize. There are many particular programs, AI tools that actually look at the kind of tools that you have used into the application process and the essays. Do not plagiarize whatsoever. They are much sophisticated programs, and it can really negatively affect your applications. The writing process can be something which is a bit difficult, but the best essays are the ones that actually tell the story of the student beyond their application numbers, test scores, so on and so forth. The finances. The finances can be something which is the core of it is something to consider at the very core of your application process and not at the very end. Because budgeting should include the living cost, the tuition fees, the living cost, and the travel expenses. There are scholarships and grants that are available for international students, including government scholarships, university scholarships, which are mostly merit-based. Need-based scholarships are few and far in between. There are private scholarships as well as NGO-related scholarships, but again, those are also highly competitive. You can do some part-time work, and we will talk about that in a future slide. And you can also look for fellowships and assistantships. These are the kind of work study or kind of programs where you will be working as a graduate assistantship or a TA and actually doing some kind of work related to your program. This can actually help you in the job market as well and help you create a network with your professors. There are many kinds of loans available. And if you are looking at loans, then consider the interest rates. Compare the fixed versus variable interest rates, because if the interest rates go down, that's far more beneficial for you. But in an environment where the interest rates can rise, it can be a bit of a negative. But the repayment terms. Some loans begin their SIPs or their EMIs just as the course begins. Some of them have a grace period where you can actually search for the job. Some of them actually begin only after the course ends. Yeah, ideally, you want the most amount of grace period to look for a job, get settled in before you actually have to repay the loan. Look at collateralized versus non-collateralized loans. Obviously, collateralized loans and the ones with the cosigner included into it will have a much lower rate of interest than a non-collateralized loan. So if you have got some kind of property or investments against which you can take the loan, it's a good idea to consider that. If your parents are willing to be co-signers, that would also be very beneficial. Make sure that you take all of these things into account during the process. The loans can be denominated in INR, which is Indian rupees, or they could also be denominated in GBP, USD, UD, etc. You can get these kind of foreign currency loans. And what ends up happening is that if you are repaying it, the Indian rupee ends up weakening. For example, if your EMI that you have to pay is 70,000 in 2015, the value of that 70,000 will actually go far lower in comparison to the dollar. If let us say your 75,000 was $1,000 in 2015 at the rate of 75 rupees per dollar, at this stage, dollar is around, it might be around 90, 95. So your benefit would be to look at whether you can get a good exchange rate in an INR loan versus a good, you can actually protect it against inflation in the case of INR, but in the case of GBP USD, you will actually have to pay the same 700, 800, $1,000 EMI, regardless of what the rupee is at. Part-time work is available in many countries. They do allow you somewhere around 15 to 25 hours of part-time work. But remember that the US only allows on-campus jobs. UK, Canada, Australia, and Germany allow off-campus as well as on-campus jobs. These are typically the minimum wage and entry-level kind of work. So do not consider them to be a very high-paying kind of jobs. If you end up getting internships over the summer that are related to the field of study, whether you're working as an analyst or an engineer or a designer, those kind of jobs end up paying a far more and be a better contributor to your finances. Part-time work will help lower your cost, but do not consider that it is a guarantee. You should plan your admissions process as if you will not have a part-time job. As I said, many countries have a proof of funds requirement. Now, the highest is Australia at 29,000 Australian dollars, which is almost 20,000 US dollars that you have to show for your living expenses apart from your tuition. Canada has got somewhere around 20,000 Canadian dollars, which is around 15,000 US dollars. France and Germany, as you can see, are a bit cheaper. And Ireland is also fairly reasonable. While the UK, it actually assumes that, this 1100 is actually if you are living in London, or if you are living in outside of London, in non-London areas, it's actually lower. So you can consider the kind of funds that you would require aside from the tuition fees. For the US, the new students just have to prove that they have the first year of funds, whether that is $15,000, $20,000, or $80,000. A few do's and don'ts just to, give you a conclusion, summary of the entire thing that we talked about. Start early, of course. Have an outcome-oriented approach. Create a university list which is completely balanced. Consider the best fit options that will work for you and plan your finances accordingly. you must keep your family involved in the entire process so that they are completely aware of the fact that you are applying to these kind of universities and what kind of finances they are looking at. Because by the time you end up going for your visa, you should have already applied for the loans if you need it, or have the financial statements in such a way that you have the liquid funds for the process. Number of notes as well. You've got the very simple one of not applying only to the dream universities, having an arbitrary rankings cutoff, and of course, using AI or trying to plagiarize your essays. Don't be overconfident. As I said before, if you start early and do the application process in a systematic way, you can achieve far more than if you and have a far less stressful application process than if, let's say, you should delay the process. As I said before, just to the previous slide, don't be dependent on part-time jobs, and of course, do not get your information from Telegram, WhatsApp, etc. If you are still confused, you can shine the bat signal, ask for help. I mean, this is not a bat signal, this is our logo. So, we are obviously here to help. And what we do, we will be helping you with the entire application process if you are interested. And this is what the journey will look like if you do end up working with us. You can book your free initial consultation. We have put in the contact form. We have the application assistance as well as the essays, portfolio, whatever else you might need help with. University selection, categorizing of it, analyzing your profile, categorizing it into various buckets. Reach safe, financial planning, of course, looking at your budget and making sure that you are applying to the universities that actually fit your profile as well as cost. And of course, the visa and the pre-departure guidance, from making sure that you actually get the visa to making sure that you end up end up departing with the confidence that you will succeed in your program. Pre-departure visa guidance support, make sure that when you get there, you are also prepared not just to be successful academically, but also culturally. And of course, this is our contact information. You can take a screenshot of it. Of course, if there's a contact form, you have filled it. Uh, we have got the YouTube channel as well, where these webinars will be available. We've got a podcast as well on Spotify, which you can search for. We've got on other places as well, where you can listen to the experiences of previous students that have worked with me in the past. And that is basically the conclusion of today's session. And now I'm open for questions. So please ask your questions and we'd be happy to answer them. Got links and sorry again for the internet connection issues. But okay, so what are the most common mistakes that students make in their applications? Okay, so common mistakes can be definitely something which, like as I said before, the don'ts part of the application. The most common mistake can be starting late for sure. If you, it's honestly speaking, it is you get fewer options later you start, right? When you start the application process, you have the idea of being able to, you have the chance of being flexible. You can end up applying to more programs, you end up applying to more universities, end up being able to change your application when you actually end up doing the process. So, right on me. The another mistake which students I see end up applying only to the highly selective universities. There's this mindset that I am going to apply only to the top 5, top 10 programs. If not, then I am not going to be interested in actually attending. That is also not the right approach to take. Try to apply to a mix of universities. Everyone's dream university, reach university, and safe university is different. So when you apply, make sure that you are unique, your application process is unique, and try to take that into account. Can I improve my chances of getting scholarships? So, okay. So, I mean, apply early. If I think the entire session can be basically boiled down to that one key tip, which is applying early. But applying early, make sure that you see applications for scholarships are going to be highly competitive. No matter which university you're applying to, no matter which government scholarship you're applying to, no matter what program you're applying for, scholarships are going to be reserved for the very best of the applicants. So if you've got the profile that makes you not just one of the top students to get admitted to a certain university, you have to be one of the best students that is there in that incoming class. In that, and then you have to apply early enough that the funds are available. So make sure that you take these things into account, and then your chances of scholarship are a bit higher. I don't see other questions. We just will open for time. How important is location? Okay, so this is something that we spoke about in the earlier webinar, which is that so when you are an undergraduate student, you have 3 years in the case of Commonwealth countries like Australia or Australia or UK to actually settle into that particular location, build your network, go out and actually make connections, look for jobs, so on and so forth. If you are a master's student, then you get either 1 year, 1.5 year, or a maximum of 2 years. So in that case, your chance to get into the networks, look into the programs, go into uh, internships, so on and so forth, becomes a bit less. So location can be a lot more important in the case of masters, but in the case of bachelors, you have a bit of flexibility. You can don't think of it as the only criteria. Think of it as something which is something that you need to consider during your process, but not the end goal. In the case of graduate students, if you know which industry you want to go into, you can look into that as well. Like if you want to go into technology, then obviously if you are planning to go into the US, then the coastal area of Silicon Valley will be slightly better, or a tech hub like Austin or Texas, or if you are interested in somewhere like aviation, that's obviously programs such as Florida, you've got a lot of good aviation programs. If you're interested in fashion, then European countries like Italy has got a great fashion program. If you're interested in finance, the UK is a good option. So try to consider that as well. In that case, I'm just going to start uh, to keep this open for about or so. So thank you for your time. And again, sorry about the inconvenience with the internet connection issues. Hopefully, the overall video which comes out of it will be far better in case anyone wants to review it, and we'll be posting that on the channel. Thank you for taking time out of your Saturday, and have a good weekend. And do get in touch with us if you would require any assistance in applying abroad. We're always here to help. Thank you.